Look at this guy. If you know anything about Attack on Titan, you'll most likely think Eren is a psychopath. A man who killed 80% of the world? What kind of a person could even think to come close to being like him? But no, he isn't. What he actually is a sociopath. I know you're getting tons of questions. What's even the difference? Eren is the most psychopathic person you would find. How is he not a psychopath? Let's see the shocking difference between this thin line of sociopaths and psychopaths with, of course, anime in mind. So first let me prove my point of why Eren's not a psychopath. When we think of these two categories of psychopaths and sociopaths, there are many key elements. A psychopath is cold and composed with high emotional control, where on the flip side, a sociopath is impulsive and volatile with low emotional control. Exactly what Eren Yeager is. He gets crushed under pressure, his emotions override him when things don't go his way, he let his impulses control him to the point of destroying the whole world. Still not convinced? Another point to prove this is that psychopaths lack empathy, we're talking about, not even a bit. But Eren has empathy. Don't you remember him crying and being guilty of his actions when he killed children, and also when he had to witness his friends and mom die right in front of his eyes? He may not be very wise with it, but he definitely has it, and he shows it, just not in a way Mikasa could understand. And a third point for you is that psychopaths rarely form genuine bonds and attachments with people, whereas sociopaths can form attachments but are often unstable, which is exactly what happened between him and Mikasa. He had a relationship, actually a great one, especially when they were kids, but as his mental instability grew, his trauma and internal conflicts couldn't let him sustain it for long, which is very typical for sociopaths as they are often diverted from something which doesn't benefit them and at the same time weakens their social relationships. Sure, you can see him being calculated, cold, and very heartless in some ways, but his true side is something else. Let's dig deep into this because here's where things get interesting. You should notice that some anime villains are terrifyingly calculated while others are chaotic and unpredictable. Both are bad and want to do something bad for someone or everyone, but there's a difference in their style. At the red corner, we have Johann Liebert, Makima, Ayanokoji, and Light Yagami. And in the blue corner, we have Eren, Envy, Mikami, and Guts from Berserk. As we low-key have categorized them, I'm thinking, why not? We have a little comparison to actually see who is best at. Let's say, doing their job the best. First, let's understand it more deeply. If you come across a psychopath like Ayanokoji, you'd see these 5 things without a doubt. The first being very high emotional strength. They can withstand basically anything because they don't feel or sense any of it. It's just a random Tuesday for them when it comes to making decisions where your emotions take over. Second is that they literally plan everything from the start to the end. They know exactly how it's going to go. It's part of the reason why they think on a long-term basis when executing their plans. The third is that they are never impulsive. They act in a way which gets them to their goals. The normal boredom and lack of motivation doesn't strike them because they don't feel anything, from joy to grief to sadness to literally nothing. Fourth being, they are never empathetic. Like a person from their family could die, and in their mind he is still thinking about what to eat tonight. The fifth and last, which I think is very, very important when it comes to villains, is that a psychotic person's motivation stems from a place of curiosity, ideology. He thinks he's better than everyone, and the desire for power. When it comes to sociopaths, it's quite the opposite of psychopaths. The first being low emotional strength, their plans can sometimes fail because they couldn't handle a sudden situation. Their emotions take over quite often. So 1 point goes to the red side. Second is that they aren't as cold and nonchalant as the red team. They can be hot-headed and aggressive in many ways, especially if things aren't going their way. So another point to the red team. The third is that they are quite reckless when it comes down to implementing a plan. They just go by the flow and don't really think long-term. They can get what they want, but aren't very polished when it comes down to it. So another one for the red team. A fourth being they are quite empathetic. Remember the Eren example. They can feel empathetic, but it's limited and very selective. So the blue finally earns 1 point. The fifth is that a sociopathic person's motivation stems from a place of mostly survival, when they think they are on the line, when emotionally vulnerable, and also from a sense of getting revenge on someone just like Eren. Well, I don't know, but they look to be pretty valid reasons to me, so I'll be giving this point to the blue 2. So red 3 and blue 2. Not bad. Not that psychopaths are better than sociopaths in my eyes. I personally think that sociopaths are quite down bad in general. They don't have high intelligence, and also their brains going in 10 different directions at the same time, so I'd rule out that those are at least better than psychopaths in a moral way. Okay, this can be controversial, but I see this common misconception that many confuse Ayanokoji, who is one of my favorite anime characters of all time, to be a sociopath. I think one of the reasons it's because this video got really popular, and also I have seen many people talk about it. But I think Ayanokoji mostly leans on a psychopathic side because he checks out our list very accurately. He has very high emotional strength, always has a long-term plan, never impulsive, never empathetic. Like bro hasn't smiled once in the whole series, and to top it all off, his motivation stems from a place of ideology. He thinks he's better than everyone, and the desire to control others. He literally has all 5 of those with a 100% accuracy. Since we have talked about Ayanokoji, we should talk anime in general too. So do you know why these villains, like literal bad people who most of the time are very wrong and want to cause harm, attract so many people? It's because they have 3 things which make people drawn to them. First, they carry extreme emotion. Psychopaths like Light Yagami or Makima show the terrifying beauty of logic without empathy. The intellect most of the time is in a shell because of morality. But when a person doesn't have it, it brings out an extremely fascinating side, which we don't see often. Second being, the audience itself. People admire psychopaths for their intelligence, strategy, and god complex. It's more like a fantasy to people. Others resonate with sociopaths because they feel real, emotional, misunderstood, raw, which most of the time people have felt in their life. If you put it in a line, it's like, psychopaths attract those who wish to control, and sociopaths attract those who wish to break free. I know it's some nerdy stuff, but anyways. The third and last is that most of the time you see that there's not a single psychopath in an anime. There's a pair of psychopath and sociopath. When you pair them in the same story, you get a perfect narrative balance of chaos versus calculation. Because one is thinking only emotionally, and one is thinking only logically. A perfect example of this is Eren and Zeke in Attack on Titan. Eren is a sociopath, and Zeke is a psychopath. Yes, he is. I'm not explaining the whole thing to you again. And the last point I want to add is that viewers subconsciously love watching minds that operate beyond normal morality. It's like a world without boundaries. People are curious but afraid, and when we're watching anime, we are completely free from that boundary. Anime gives a safe space to explore that darkness, which we of course can't imagine in real life. And I think that's enough rant for today on this topic. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like and a sub so you can see me again. Here's some more nerdy anime stuff I made in the past I think you'll like, so check it out.